out there in radio land, and welcome guys, gals, non-binary pals, and everyone else. Thank you so much for clicking on today's episode, the very first episode of my brand new podcast, Nice Ladies. I am so thrilled that you have found this podcast, and if you have found it on YouTube, there is also a video element to it on my channel, Ash Silver. So every single week I will be releasing the episode on there, and also on any podcasting service or platform that I can. So if you want to support the podcast and get new episodes every single week about all of our nice ladies, then please click the subscribe button, as that will make sure that you're notified every single time that a new episode is released. So very briefly, Nice Ladies is a podcast by me, Ash, and every single week I will be picking a different woman who will be featured for that episode, and there's really no defining category for the women. I mean, they can be in film, television, politics, from history. So without further ado, let's get into the lady we are featuring today in episode 1. And it is none other than the Princess of Pop, Britney Spears. So anyone watching on the video element will be able to see I am wearing a Britney Spears shirt today, and just to get my personal biases out in the front of the episode, I've always been a fan of Britney. You know, I'm the same age as her. I'm a little bit younger, but mostly, you know, Britney was who I grew up with through my teenage years, 20s. You know, I've gone to pretty much every tour she's even done, even the M&M's tour, where I was lucky enough to meet her, albeit extremely briefly. And I love Britney. I have all of her albums, constantly listen to her music still, and I have a massive respect for what she created and the Free Britney movement that has popped up around her conservatorship. And, you know, the New York Times documentary that came out recently, it got me really interested, and it's where I kind of came up for the idea with this podcast, because I have a YouTube channel that talks predominantly about the L word, and I've started to see other things. Like, I did a video recently about the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry interview. So it got me thinking, oh, I'd love to talk about Meghan. I'd love to talk about Britney. And this is where the idea of that podcast came from. So let's go right back to the beginning with Britney. And I don't think everybody will need an introduction, because most people know who Britney Spears is. I mean, she is just known globally, and I think most people, especially, you know, around my age, could name Britney Spears songs, albums, and I'd be really surprised, especially if people, you know, she's one of the most recognizable faces on the planet, so most people have some sort of an idea about who she is, what she stands for, and her music. As a side point, I do suggest that people go and watch the New York Times episode about the Free Britney movement. It's called Framing Britney Spears, because it does go into a lot of like Britney's background and growing up, her coming into the industry. So if you're not too familiar with Britney, that is a great thing to watch to get that background information. Although, and I'll talk more about this later on about the conservatorship, etc. If you do have a good understanding of Britney Spears, they went into a lot of detail that most people know, especially people who are fans of Britney. And I think they spent far too long telling us about, you know, the Mickey Mouse Club and Justin Timberlake and all of her early work and things like this. Like it's very stuff it was like a Wikipedia entry for most of the episode, and they didn't really have that much time. If it was a 3-hour documentary, then that would be great, but just the fact that they were really limited on time and they only really talked about the conservatorship and the Free Britney movement at the end. So I would have liked to have seen them discuss more of that, because you can get the other information anywhere, like even just, as I said, like clicking on Wikipedia. So I think that if you really want, you know, a good background of Britney, there's definitely some great sources out there. I'll link some more in the description box. But just very briefly, I mean, who doesn't know that Britney Spears was on the Mickey Mouse Club with Justin Timberlake, Kerry Russell, Ryan Gosling, Christina Aguilera, and you know, her parents very much wanted her to be a star. She loved singing, dancing, and they were trying to make this work from a very young age. And Britney did have success with the Mickey Mouse Club. And after the Mickey Mouse Club was cancelled, she did go back to Louisiana in high school and have a very typical high school experience. And, you know, she always says, I went to prom, I went to Christmas formal, and I played on the basketball team. And I think that was a very good foundation for her, that she was able to have that very typical experience, and it allowed her to stay a bit more grounded. But she did sign a contract with Jive Records in 1997 at the age of 15. She was turned down by a lot of other record companies who, you know, were thinking that it's the era of the boy band. This is NSYNC and Backstreet Boy time. And one of the first tours that Britney did go on was she was the opening act for NSYNC, and, you know, how things rekindled with Justin. But her first album, Baby One More Time, came out in 1999. And I mean, Rolling Stone has now also said this, but I think most people would agree that it is just the greatest debut single ever. The second that you hear those notes in the beginning, I mean, it's still a song that I absolutely love. And from the beginning, you know, Britney was very set in, she wanted to do what she wanted to do, and she had her vision for how things were going to go. The record company, with Baby One More Time in the beginning, they really wanted the music video to be animated, and it was Britney who came up with the schoolgirl, you know, dancing music video that we all know and are probably seeing flashes of in our head as I'm talking about it. So to be able to not only say, no, I want to do it this way at such a young age, like, you know, hats off to Britney. And there's so many things that I could say. I mean, the records that she shattered, it's just unbelievable, and in every aspect, that she's 100 million records sold worldwide, the 4th best-selling female artist of all time, 1.5 billion in perfume sales alone. You could stand here all day and list Britney's accomplishments in the music industry, fashion industry, tours. She just has conquered so many things. And pretty much from when Baby One More Time came out in 1999, a year later, 2000, Oops, I Did It Again, her second album, third album, Britney, in 2001. She didn't release an album in 2002, but she did release the movie Crossroads. Her fourth album in 2003, In the Zone. She had her children in 2005 and 2006, and she also was married in 2004. So her next album, Blackout, was in 2007, Circus, 2008, Femme Fatale, 2011, Britney Jean, 2013, and Glory, 2016. Obviously, I briefly touched on there that in 2004, Britney married Kevin Federline, and she had her 2 sons pretty much back to back in 2005 and 2006. in 2007, her divorce was finalized from Kevin Federline, and also her aunt that she was very close to sadly passed away. And as most people know, 2007 was a very difficult year for Britney, and it's when she was constantly in the media, you know, the umbrella episode with the paparazzi, and when she shaved her head, and the relentless media coverage and just constantly ripping her apart. Again, Framing Britney Spears goes over this in a lot of detail. I don't feel the need to really go into huge amount of details on that, and I certainly, even in the video element, will not be showing any pictures of that because I just don't think it's necessary. If you really want to know what happened and see those pictures, you know, they do show it in the Framing Britney Spears documentary, but it was clearly a very, very difficult time in Britney's life, and most people think that she was suffering some sort of postpartum depression, which, having 2 children back to back, and she's going through a divorce, and she is basically being hunted relentlessly anytime she walks out her door. I mean, when you really see the amount of paparazzi that are just surrounding her at all times, it is truly, truly shocking, because obviously most of the time we only see the other side of the camera, like the picture that they are shooting, and not how, you know, they swarm in and there's so many of them flashing, screaming. And it must, honestly, even just by yourself or with bodyguards, whatever it is, friends, that could be a scary situation. But when you're a new parent, and Britney is still very young when she had her children and when she had all this success. So, you know, I don't have children, but I'm sure most young mothers can imagine. It's when you have your first child, it's scary, and you don't know everything. And then to also have people criticizing every move you make, I can't imagine. It has to be so difficult. So as we know, Britney, the end of 2007, early 2008, is going through this really difficult time. And at one stage, you know, she refuses to give her sons back to Kevin Federline, and she locks herself and one of her sons in the bathroom at her house. The ambulances are called, and of course the paparazzi are there waiting too. And Britney is brought in under a 5150 hold, which in California is, I mean, in Florida we call it Baker Acted. In the UK, we call it section. There's, you know, a corresponding law most places in the world, certainly in every state. And it is, I mean, the definition of the Baker Act is where you are held for 72 hours because you are either a danger to yourself or to others. And I have experience dealing with people in my life who have been placed on this hold, and also like my degrees in psychology, so just even textbook and real life experience. And this hold is pretty, you know, serious, and there's not many ways that if you're on that hold, usually you're on it for a reason and you're on it for that 72 hours. But with Britney, actually, they released her after 24 hours and she wasn't on the hold for the entire 72 hours. So they deemed her not a threat to herself or others. And, you know, again, I could spend one video just talking about this time in Britney's life, and I will link some other sources so that if you do want to go and learn more about this. But the basic totaling of all these events, of the umbrella with the paparazzi and the head shaving and some other things that, you know, her friends and family were concerned about, and also the 5150 hold, and just in general, the way they thought there was maybe some substance abuse. And this is when the conservatorship arises. And the conservatorship, I mean, this is one thing that Framing Britney Spears never mentions. And again, I am doing my best to check all this information and make sure that it's backed up and things, but everyone, can make mistakes, and if I have made any, then obviously I will asterisk them and correct them. But most people in the Free Britney movement believe that the source of the conservatorship and kind of the mastermind behind it is a woman called Lou Ann Taylor, who was Britney's manager. And there is a lot out there about Lou Ann Taylor, and at one stage Britney writing an email to her security because she was scared of what this woman was doing. And her sister Jamie Lynn Spears actually seems to have a really good relationship with her, but Lou Ann Taylor is known for trying to get other celebrities into conservatorships as well, one of the most famous being Lindsay Lohan. And Amanda Bynes is in a conservatorship as well. Obviously Lindsay Lohan, she never got put under one, but Amanda Bynes is still under one to this day. And it seems as though a lot of these parents and managers and people get used to their children making these huge amounts of money, and when they become adults and start having their own children and getting married and wanting to live their own life, their big paycheck is cut off, and it's the child earned the money, be it when they were a child or not, and that money is theirs. And you have these people stepping in to try and get these conservatorships over, like I said, Britney Spears, Amanda Bynes, with Lindsay Lohan. Luckily she didn't get put under one. So in 2008 Britney was put under the conservatorship, and the documents actually stated that Britney, who at the time was 26 years old, had dementia, and that is why she was being put under this conservatorship. So Jamie Spears, her father, is in charge of basically her life, everything. And for people not familiar with a conservatorship, you really cannot do a lot. Like, you have no access to your money whatsoever. You can't hire an attorney. You can't get married. You can't drive. You can't have children. You can't vote. You can't see your friends without permission. She's not allowed custody of her children. Her social media is monitored, and basically all of the communication is monitored, which is another reason that Britney is really unable to speak out. And at the end of the Framing Britney Spears documentary, they did say, we reached out to Britney several times, but we're not even sure if she got the message, because of course, if they're controlling absolutely everything, they could just absolutely say, no, Britney only gets X amount of information. And even, the social media and everything that she's putting out will be heavily controlled. And that's why there is a lot of people who they follow Britney's Instagram, because they think that there's some, underlying messages and things. And Britney has to communicate in these really subtle ways. Like, in the thing that stuck out to me the most about kind of really thinking, okay, it's clear that she does not want this conservatorship, because in 2008 she said to the lawyer she tried to hire but they wouldn't let her hire, which was basically going against her constitutional rights. But the lawyer said that Britney said, I know I can't fight this, and they have used her children basically against her, in basically saying you'll never get custody of them, or this is the only way to be able to see them. And of course that, she loves her children and wants to see them. So they trapped her basically in this conservatorship, and they grossly underestimated what money was there, because they have been siphoning it off, be it, lawyers that they're paying for, accounts, salaries for her dad, all of these things that are just completely depleting Britney's fortune. And the numbers just do not add up, especially for someone who has done so much when she has been under this conservatorship. Like, Britney did the circus tour in 2009 that brought in $131.8 million. The X Factor, she was a judge on there. She had a guest spot on How I Met Your Mother with the highest rating of the series. She had a guest spot on Glee, the highest rating of the series. She had a guest spot on Will and Grace, and again, the highest rating. She had a Las Vegas residency in 2013. She's had 25 perfumes released. She's had GLAAD awards. The list just goes on and on. And Britney has been absolutely trapped in this conservatorship for the past 13 years. So 2019 seems really when Britney has said, I have had enough, and she really wants her father removed from the conservatorship. So in 2019, she went on a indefinite work hiatus, cancelled her Vegas residency, and said, I will not work while my father is still in charge of the conservatorship. Andrew Wallet resigned, who was a lawyer that was a co-conservator, and in September 2019, there was an incident where Kevin Federline actually got a restraining order against Britney's dad, Jamie Spears. And in November 2020, they actually assigned a co-conservator, Bessemer Trust. The battle with Britney's conservatorship is basically still ongoing. Next week, March 17th, there is a hearing being held, and the House Republicans are actually demanding that the Democrats hold hearings on conservator abuse in response to the Free Britney movement. So I think that's a great thing, because clearly there is some rampant abuse going on. I mean, Britney is not the only one in one of these conservatorships. Amanda Bynes, as I said, also is in it. And a lot of people, if you just look on the very surface level of things, these people are able to do a lot of manipulation with the media. So at one stage, there was a lot of articles coming out from CNN basically saying, there's no need to free Britney, she's fine, like her dad loves her and all this stuff. And these Jamie Spears or his people or whatever it is, they're putting out these articles because they want to keep Britney under this conservatorship, because it makes them an exorbitant amount of money. So there's definitely a reason to dig a bit deeper and really think about, when you read these articles from official news sources, like, why are they putting this out? Like, where does this information come from? And I think that there is a huge amount of the media working kind of hand in hand, because the media can totally either bring you up as an angel or push you down as a villain. Like, they can manipulate the public's perception of you 100%. I mean, if they just really focus on the things that have happened, poorly with Britney's mental health, and they're just saturating the market with the head shaving picture and the umbrella picture and these incidents where it maybe looks like something's going on that isn't, and they, give their opinion, and they just constantly keep pushing these things out and saying, oh, Britney needs to be in this conservatorship because of this, this, and this, when in reality, Jamie Spears or other people behind the scenes are pushing their opinion and their prerogative out by using these media companies to do so. Because if Jamie Spears wants to continue to make his $120,000 or whatever exactly it is, it's over $100,000 a year to be Britney's conservator, you know, what does it matter if he pays to go and get CNN to publish an article saying how much Britney needs her dad and loves her dad, and, or, you know, how she needs to be under this conservatorship, when in reality she doesn't, and she can only say so much herself, because all of what she says, all her social media, everything is controlled. And people think, well, why doesn't she just, you know, go on Instagram and say something? And it's like, most of the time, Instagram, Facebook, all these things, they don't have them on their phone like us. Like, they sign over their social media platforms and accounts to an agency or someone they've hired specifically to do their social media. So with Britney, it's even more, because she's in this conservatorship, and pretty much anything that she's posting will have some sort of approval coming somewhere. So it's not like she's completely free to just get on there and say what she wants. And people just need to be super aware that, where is this information coming from? Like, is it coming from an unbiased reporter, or is it being shown to me with some sort of intention behind it to try and push a narrative on me about this situation? I mean, to me, the real reason that I was like, okay, this, you know, this isn't the way Britney wants things, and her, you know, dad and whomever else are completely manipulating this situation, because one of the only ways that Britney can speak is basically through her lawyer and through what's going on in the courts. And, you know, Britney has obviously seen the Free Britney movement and everything that's going on. All it would take is for her to say, guys, I'm fine. I'm happy. Like, I'm fine with my life this way. It's cool. And people would be like, okay, cool. She doesn't need our help. That's fine. So this is exactly what Britney said in the court documents. At this point in her life, when she is trying to regain some measure of personal autonomy, Britney welcomes and appreciates the informed support of her many fans. That's what Sam Ingram wrote, her lawyer. And basically the way I interpret that is, please keep going. Please help me. It would have taken 2 seconds for her to say, everything's cool, I'm fine. So, I mean, that was the real thing. When I saw that, I was like, okay, she is not happy, and this is not the situation she wants. Because at the end of the day, she's been in this conservatorship for 13 years. Since she was 26 years old. She's 39 now. Is she going to be in this for the rest of her life? I mean, one of the lawyers who's on her father's side, she works in that industry. She sees conservatorships all the time. And she said she has never seen a conservatee get out of a conservatorship before. So I don't know how anyone can sit and say, this is what Britney wants. She's happy this way. You know, she obviously would like to have more custody of her children, because when Kevin Federline did the restraining order against her dad, she lost even more custody of her children. And not only that, her funds are being extremely depleted over paying this and paying that and paying lawyers and paying her dad. And it's just, when is enough enough? Like, she has been working since she was a child, and she has had a ton of people sucking her dry. I mean, obviously I could spend hours talking about this. There is a really great YouTube channel. His name is Sloan, and it's SL04N, and he's a huge Britney fan, huge person behind the Free Britney movement. I watched a lot of his videos, and he really goes into depth about Luann Taylor and her role in the conservatorship, and even people like Jamie Lynn Spears, Britney's sister, who seems to have a really close relationship with Luann Taylor, which is weird because why would you be close with someone who like ruined your sister's life? So it's really that, definitely go and watch Sloane's video, and there's a lot of other stuff on his channel that goes into depth about like the lawyers on Britney's case, and even if you want to know more about Amanda Bynes and her conservatorship, because when you see these pictures in the media, when you see, you know, these people being crazy or doing these wild things, just stop and think, where is this coming from? There's people who I could do something. I could put my hand through my hair and close my eyes and just, you know, be having I need to take a deep breath. And someone could snap a picture of that and say, Ash, about to have mental breakdown, like the stress is too much. And people can like build these things up, or they could take a picture of you in the back of an Uber and you're having like a 10-minute nap, and Ash passed out in the back of an Uber, completely wasted, and I don't even drink. So, you know what I mean? Like it's just very important to think, why am I seeing these pictures? Probably because someone wanted to make money. And if you're reading an article, who gave the information in the article? Where did it come from? Why has it come out? What is the source? And just really critically think about, what are these people trying to accomplish with this? Because a lot of the time, the answer is they're trying to make money. And if there's one thing we know, money is just the root of all evil. Because if these people, all the money, think about all the Us Weekly covers and tabloids and Daily Mails and this and that, and think about all that money that they made by ruining these people's lives. Like, and that is in a way why, yes, social media has its issues. It has a lot of issues, but in a way, it is a little bit like people can take back the narrative a little bit. And I just think that all those magazines and really tabloidy newspapers, they're looking for a reaction. They're looking for some sort of extreme response from people, and they want you to pick up a magazine, see a 13-year-old picture of Britney with her head shaved, and in a moment, you know, of crisis where she had been relentlessly stalked and harassed for years, and she lost it for 2 seconds. And, you know, I'm not trying to minimize the umbrella thing, but just check out the guy in the Framing Britney Spears documentary. Like, he basically says Britney never once said to leave her alone, and it's like, are you kidding? But anyway, he made so much money off her, and just think, like, why are they showing this to me? Why are they telling me that Britney's dad loves her and she's fine? And it's because they want you to look at the magazine and remember 13 years ago and go, oh yeah, Britney, she's crazy. She should be in a conservatorship. So imagine working hard your entire life, because there's nobody that can say Britney Spears didn't work hard, and being asked at 8-9 years old, do you have a boyfriend? And then your first like real love lying, going on TV shows and bragging about sleeping with you, and then making a music video that basically explodes his solo career where he lies about you cheating on him, then everybody basically interviewing you asks you, why did you do this? Why were you so mean to him? Like, oh, poor Justin. And then all of what happened. People pick apart every single thing you did with your kids. People criticize every move you make. People tell you you're doing this wrong, that, you know, you're being too chaste with your virginity, or you're wearing too sexy clothes, and just this constant, I mean, I think any woman listening knows what I'm talking about, in that there's just this scrutiny constantly. And I always say, you know, like recently over the past year and a half, I've lost like 250 pounds. And we all know the worst thing that a woman can be is fat, because that makes you basically invisible. And it's so weird now, like having lost weight and a lot of weight, and suddenly it's like you're a person again. And people are constantly, you know, women can never win. There's always, like, even working mothers, stay-at-home mothers, there's always something that can be picked apart. And that is a lot of the reason that I wanted to make this podcast and talk about some really controversial women. Like, there's, you know, people that you can look at, and some people completely admire them and think they're the best thing in the world, and other people absolutely loathe them. But at the end of the day, like, they're still a human being. And I just think that we should all try and take a little step back. And even if you still look at this, what this person does, and you're like, I don't like them, does it really help any situation for you to go online and tell someone what's wrong with them or how you think they're trash? Because it really doesn't help. And it doesn't help you, it doesn't help them. And I know this is something so simple and silly, but the mute and the block button takes like 2 seconds. And you can even now completely, you could type in Britney Spears, never want to see that woman again, or her name or anything, and it will take it out of your feed. And guess what? Even if you see it, just keep scrolling. That's all it takes. So just think, what is the agenda here? It's usually to make money. And these people that are put in conservatorships, I mean, there's non-famous people who are being trapped in this as well. And it's just really important to look at people like Britney Spears, like Amanda Bynes, that they have been making their family money since they were very young children. And when they become fully formed adults and want to live their own life with their own money that they've earned, sometimes people don't like that. And when there's a lot of money, you know, you would think someone wouldn't do that to their kid, but when money's involved, all bets are off. So my final thoughts on the situation is Britney Spears is one of the greatest pop stars of our time, like unrivaled. I think that she's extremely hardworking. She seems to just want a normal life with her 2 kids. And I really, really hope that someday soon that she can get her life back, because all she experienced growing up was working and working really hard, constantly touring, constantly doing perfumes and interviews and fashion and Britney Spears Foundation, which I could talk about that too. There's so many things. And, you know, she got put into this conservatorship at 26 years old. Like, she just wants a nice, normal life and freedom. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, on social media, on DM. Did you like this first episode? Let me know if there's other controversial, good, bad, whatever women that you would like to see me talk about. I definitely have some interesting episodes coming up, and I just want to say thank you so much to every single person who listened to this. I have really, really enjoyed it, and it's the first episode, so it's a work in progress, but hopefully it will get better and improve every episode. But thank you so much, and there's really nothing else to say but free Britney.